Liangyue suddenly drew a short knife from her hip and swiftly hurled it. The blade struck true, pinning the dark shadow to the ground. Zhang Yi lowered his gun decisively. Don't shoot. Let's avoid unnecessary disturbance. The group cautiously advanced, their breath caught at the sight of the creature. Initially gray and resembling a small dog, its long tail and wide mouth revealed its true form, a giant rat. Su Chunlei recoiled in horror at the grotesque creature. Damn it! That's a rat? It's bigger than a cat. Indeed, this rat is twice the size of Hua Hua, Zhang Yi remarked, taking a deep breath. Giant mutations in rats aren't uncommon. Normally, if rats have a food source, they can grow to the size of a fully grown cat. But this one. He trailed off, recalling the bodies they had encountered earlier. Those bodies were likely victims of these rats. Su Chunlei pondered silently and whispered, with so many bodies, there must be a nest of giant rats here. The words hung heavily, unsettling everyone. Liangyue, her face betraying concern, seemed to grasp the gravity of the threat. Despite being a skilled martial artist with a steadfast demeanor, like any other woman, she still harbored a deep aversion to rats. At that moment, Hua Hua suddenly raised her head high and emitted a cry, a deep, intimidating sound typically heard when facing a formidable adversary. We've stumbled into a rat's nest, Zhang Yi said reluctantly. From every corner of the narrow tunnel, the large rats poured out like a torrent. They were not ordinary rats, some were as big as kitten or puppy, and there was even a giant white rat. Liangyue couldn't help but exclaim, it's horrifying. Zhang Yi noticed the eerie red eyes of the rats, known as the eyes of a predator that had once preyed on humans. No need to say it aloud, they've surely survived this long in the dark sewers by relying on something for sustenance, Zhang Yi added grimly. Hua Hua continued to growl menacingly. While cats were natural foes of rats, outnumbered as they were, their usual advantage seemed dubious against such overwhelming numbers of these mutated rodents. Zhang Yi said, first, let's clean them up. Though our main purpose here is to eliminate the zombie king, we can't avoid dealing with this situation. Let's fight. Uncle Security and Su Chunlei each wielded a flamethrower, firing continuously, one after another. Whether killing zombies or rats, they were determined to exterminate. Fortunately, despite their mutations, these rats were not as formidable as zombies. After the flames consumed and killed, the remaining rats began to panic and retreated, moving away from the range of the fire. However, these cunning creatures did not leave but instead lurked in the darkness, staring intently at Zhang Yi's group. Just as soon as the fire goes out, they'll charge, Zhang Yi frowned, instructing Su Chunlei and Uncle Security, turn off the flamethrowers. Though they didn't understand Zhang Yi's intent, both immediately ceased firing. Zhang Yi thought to himself, continuing like this won't resolve anything soon. Not to mention finding the zombie king. Certainly, he had another plan in mind. As soon as the flames died down, the terrifying cries of the rat horde echoed. They rushed towards the group. Standing in the tunnel, Zhang Yi raised his hands and shouted loudly. Immediately, two enormous spatial gates appeared, blocking the tunnel and covering the entire space. The rats in front fell down, while those behind continued to charge into the dimensional space, where none could reach them. The group sighed with relief, then looked at Zhang Yi curiously. Liangyue asked, have your spatial gates been upgraded? Zhang Yi nodded. I've been studying how to use the spatial gates since the last major battle. Now, I can use two gates simultaneously. Liangyue exclaimed, that's convenient. Having two gates means having two unbeatable defensive directions. Though it's not absolute defense yet. In a major battle, this ability can make a big difference. For example, in the current terrain, it provides absolute defense, she added. The frenzied rats charged into the dimensional space. These agile creatures realized their kind disappeared in front of them and slowly sensed the dangerous scent. However, the rats ahead, wanting to stop, were forced by the rats behind them into the strongholds of the disaster. Deep within the rat pack, a large white rat emitted frantic squeals. Soon after, all of them quickly turned around and began retreating, casting wary glances at Zhang Yi and his group. Despite this, Zhang Yi remained somewhat concerned. I wonder if all that noise will alert the zombies. Liangyue wondered aloud, these rats and zombies both live underground. Could they have some connection? Zhang Yi didn't have time for extensive pondering. Hard to say, let's keep moving. The underground space made him uneasy, he didn't want to linger. The group pressed on, picking up their pace, yet they felt countless eyes watching them from the shadows. These underground rats hadn't given up. They were waiting for an opportunity to strike. Zhang Yi paid them no mind. His group continued forward, covering a long distance past 2 stops until they reached the 3rd subway station, where they discovered a group of zombies. Zhang Yi thought to himself, finally found them. They're not hiding or attacking us, just densely gathered in the tunnel. Uncle Security whispered, they're fast asleep. Zhang Yi murmured, that makes sense. Even if we consider them as hosts for the virus, all actions require energy. So when the virus doesn't command them, they hide and rest. In the darkness, Uncle Security raised the flamethrower in his hand. Should I burn them all? Zhang Yi looked at the sleeping zombies and recalled Zhou Kura's words, these zombies retain some biological properties. Seriously speaking, they're like a colony of insects. So they also need time to rest and enter a sleep state. Zhang Yi thought to himself, if they can stay asleep and not wake up, there's no need to disturb them. However, reality was often harsh. Not long after their arrival, a zombie in a deep slumber suddenly opened its eyes, followed by more zombies contorting their bodies in a peculiar stance to stand upright. As they realized the presence of the living before them, their hoarse groans echoed as if they were crazed and ready to attack. Zhang Yi muttered to himself, it's never that simple. This situation is becoming troublesome. Zhang Yi furrowed his brow, refusing to allow Uncle Security to use the flamethrower. Instead, he opted to activate the spatial gate to block the entrance. While this method could potentially eliminate regular zombies, it would undoubtedly attract the attention of the Zombie King deeper within. In the tunnel, facing the Zombie King, the difficulty level was undoubtedly escalating. A continuous stream of zombies fell down, but those behind kept rushing towards the spatial gate. Liangyue and the others watched with eyes full of admiration for Zhang Yi's enhanced defensive capabilities, pushed to their maximum extent. Moreover, this ability could only be broken through by a massive energy attack. Other methods were almost ineffective. The stream of zombies continued to pour in, but suddenly they halted as if receiving some sort of command. Then, the zombies standing outside the spatial gate turned towards Zhang Yi and his group, emitting malevolent and discomforting moans. Zhang Yi spoke in a deep voice, the Zombie King has detected us. If that's the case, there's no need to hesitate anymore. Let's burn them. Uncle Security and Su Chunlei advanced, aiming their flamethrowers directly at the zombies. In the narrow and long tunnel, the flamethrowers unleashed their maximum power. The flames engulfed dozens of zombies ahead, instantly igniting them. Their bodies twisted and emitted terrifying screams after being burnt. Zhang Yi's eyes were filled with careful attention. He said, the Zombie King is nearby. Let's chase after it. He retracted the spatial gate and led everyone deeper inside. The path ahead was densely packed with zombies. Hua Hua and Liangyue didn't even have a chance to intervene. However, Liangyue occasionally looked back with concern, reminding Zhang Yi, those giant rats are still following us from behind. Zhang Yi replied, we don't need to worry about them right now. We need to quickly locate the Zombie King and eliminate it to eliminate the threat at its source. Liangyue expressed worry, but our speed of advancement is still too slow. In this corridor, the number of zombies is truly overwhelming. With this speed, who knows how long we'll continue burning them. By the time we're surrounded here, the Zombie King might have escaped, she added. Gradually, they noticed the zombies starting to flee faster. It seemed like the Zombie King realized it couldn't defeat the invaders and began to retreat. Zhang Yi told his group, the number of zombies has decreased, we can increase our speed. In another corner of the tunnel, Dong Hu along with a skilled group of soldiers arrived to investigate. However, shortly after they arrived, they encountered a swarm of crazed rats attacking them. The rats, with their eyes glowing red like fire, charged at them from all directions. These rats are monsters, Dong Hu warned. Be careful, don't let them bite you. They can pierce through our protective gear. Dong Hu wasted no time unleashing his full supernatural abilities. His power, the Fist of Flame, unleashed intense fire that could turn the rats into ashes in an instant. After about 15 minutes of fierce fighting, they finally managed to push back the rats. Dong Hu, with a grim expression, broke the silence. Let's keep going. Our objective is to find the zombie group and gather intelligence. For now, no matter what difficulties we face, we must overcome them. Even if he were to return, he wouldn't want to face Xiao Honglian.